Today we're reviewing this 2020 Land Rover Range Rover Sport SVR, and because it is actually below 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside, I am going to do the entire review inside this vehicle because it's just insanely cold. But we're going to see what this high-performance luxury SUV is like. Land Rover has built itself a brand image off of high-end luxury SUVs with actual off-road credentials, the ability to handle all sorts of terrain, but this Range Rover SVR is likely the least off-road focused in the portfolio. If you're looking for a high-end luxury performance SUV, there's actually a lot of choices when you have over 100 grand sitting there ready to spend on something like a BMW X5M or X6M, a Cayenne Turbo S, a GLE 63 AMG. But what Land Rover's created is the SVR. Now, SVR stands for Special Vehicle Racing, which is really the trim. It's a top-tier trim for Jaguar Land Rover. So you have F-Type SVRs, there's an F-Pace SVR, and this from Land Rover, from the Special Vehicles Operations team, so SVO. A lot of acronyms here, but just think about it the same way as some of the German brands have their high-end performance arm that creates ludicrous machines that seem to have more horsepower than you ever really need, but result in awesome vehicles. What is this Range Rover SVR? Well, 5-liter supercharged V8 that now makes 575 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Mated to a 8-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive with 6 different selectable drive modes. I'm in dynamic right now. This thing will do 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, up to a top speed of 176 miles an hour. Now, as I mentioned, some of those early German competitors, there's a lot of high-end performance SUVs out there, but somehow this SVR is able to stand out and be unique. Possibly because of that supercharged V8 and the noises this thing makes. We have an active exhaust. This might be one of the best sounding SUVs ever made. Oh my god, I've got the exhaust valves open. It sounds so good. It cracks, it pops, it roars. Exactly like an F-Type SVR. I mean, any sort of F-Type sounds absurd, and this thing is right up there with it. So not only does the SVR sound really good, it also looks really good. This is the refreshed version of the Range Rover. So sharper front headlights, those LEDs are nice and angular. It's much more aggressive up front too. The fascia has larger front grills, round back quad exhaust tips, a couple SVR badges. Standard are 21-inch wheels. A lot of times people upgrade to the 22s. This one has some aftermarket Vorsteiner wheels on it, but overall the profile is a lot more sporty than the full-size Range Rover. So the Sport is actually the second tier in the Range Rover lineup. Range Rover is a sub-brand of Land Rover, and there's actually 4 models. You go from the Evoque to the Velar to the Sport, and then the top end. The top end Range Rover is really, you see those big long wheelbase autobiographies. They're more about the luxury driving experience, whereas the Sport looks sleeker, handles a bit better. I think the SVR is one of the best looking ones in the segment. It stands out. It looks premium. It looks like a Range Rover. And as an SVR trim, again, I mentioned some of the different touches, but carbon fiber is plentiful too. You can get an exposed carbon fiber hood underneath there. You see the carbon fiber, but this one has been painted, satin black finish. It looks good. It sounds good. What is the interior like? It's definitely nice. Is it the best in the segment? I don't think so. There's a very nice blend of high quality leather, a lot of carbon fiber trim as the SVR, so across the center dash here. We got some trim on the steering wheel. And this one has been finished in contrast black and red, and it looks really sporty, very luxurious, but some things that let it down, the infotainment screen. It's already gotten a lot better, and I've driven past Range Rovers, and I've definitely complained about the old Land Rover infotainment screens have always been problematic. They went to this dual touchscreen system, which when looking at it, it's actually very beautiful. It looks nice, it seems to work well, but it can be a bit buggy and laggy, and it's not the most intuitive system. Things I like about it, I've always loved these embedded rotary dials that have a little screen inside of them for controlling your temperature. You push it to change your seat from heated to cooled, and you have your terrain, different response modes up there. I've got dynamic pulled up obviously right now. And the top screen will do things like your navigation, media, phone connection, that type of thing. But compared to like an Audi MMI system or BMW iDrive, it's not quite as good. then you bury your foot and just kind of forget about it. With the SVR, you have optional upgraded seats that have massage, heated, and cooled. They're a little bit lighter, more sculpted compared to a regular Range Rover Sport. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very nice place to be. It's a nice six-figure luxury interior, but compared to some of the German competitors, I think it doesn't quite have the edge. We do have adjustable air suspension, and the road just got a little bit crappy, and it actually is pretty bouncy and dynamic. So if you push the terrain selector, little rotary dial in, it drops into auto terrain response. See if it'll increase the comfort a bit. Again, this has been tuned more to handle body roll, and it's a dynamic driving SVR, so it's not going to be as comfortable or floaty as some of the other Land Rover or Range Rovers in the lineup. Any complaints you have about this Range Rover SVR can be pretty much eliminated as soon as you step on the throttle and let off and you hear those cracks and burbles and pops. This thing sounds so good, and it's all real exhaust noises. Wow. Fuel efficiency isn't that great, but honestly, if you're getting one of these, do you really care? It's something like 15 mpg city, 20 highway, and 16 combined with a 27.5 gallon fuel tank. Those are just some numbers. If you have this, you're gonna not get great fuel economy because it's just fun to keep doing that. For other changes for the refresh compared to this and the pre-refresh, the dampers have been retuned for better handling, but pretty much mechanically it stayed similar. Horsepower bump, it'll still tow 6,600 pounds. And curb weight, Land Rover claims it's right around 5,070, but I think I saw tests where in reality, in real world, it was more like 5,500 pounds. And that's actually decent for an SUV of this size. And actually, the tangent I'm gonna go on, the first thing my brain went to was, if this Range Rover full-size SUV weighs 5,070 pounds, why in the world does a new Audi RS7 weigh almost 5,000 pounds? It's 4,900 something. That RS7 and RS6 are just too big and heavy for a sedan. Regardless, back to the actual Range Rover. When you're shopping for a vehicle like this, a six-figure 500 plus horsepower, nearly 600 horsepower SUV, practicality, I mean, that type of thought, reasoning, logic, I don't think is high up on the list. So it's the emotional response. How does it make you feel? And this thing just makes me smile. I think it's the noises. The sound really does allow it to stand out from the more, I don't want to say boring, but formal feeling in a Cayenne or a Mercedes AMG. They try to simulate that, even like an X5M or something like that. They try to simulate that excitement, the emotion, but none of them can seem to match it. And honestly, I think it's just down to how this thing delivers the power, the way it looks, and the way it sounds. Let's talk about the value of the SVR. Starting at right around $115,000. It's actually right in line with some of the competitors. BMW X5M competition is right there. That does make a little bit more power, but they're very competitive in this space. Now, here's the thing. You can also get a regular Range Rover Sport with this 5-liter supercharged V8, making only 518 horsepower, but those are priced right around 90 grand. So that's a big discount. You are paying a lot more for that over the top and for that extra 50-ish horsepower in this SVR. Now, what about the competitors? We already talked a little bit about the X5M pricing. Here's the other thing. If you're just looking for all-out fun and performance, I just spent a week with a Dodge Durango Hellcat. That made 710 horsepower, was even faster than this SVR, and I did not ever stop smiling while driving that. It's way more ridiculous. This has much more tech and luxury and is a whole different driving experience. But in the world of high-performance SUVs, fun is one of the biggest things you're going with. Like, it doesn't have to make sense anymore. And at 90 grand, that would undercut it. I mean, it's a Hellcat powered Durango versus an SVR, which is from Land Rover. Honestly, for this kind of money, the SVR will give you a lot of grins. If you're looking more for the luxury, a regular Sport Dynamic, or even a full-size Range Rover, the big boy, the big brother Range Rover, will be a more luxurious experience, a little more spacious. The third row, I wouldn't even bother with, because unless you have very short friends or children, nobody's going to really want to sit in the third row of a Range Rover Sport. But I think I would personally just do this for the powertrain. The noises this thing makes, the exhaust, the sound, and it is fast. But with that, we will end this review. Stay warm if you're in these miserable winter climates. I know I am going to try not to lose any fingers and toes once I exit this vehicle because it's that cold outside. But there's the Range Rover SVR. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I appreciate the support as always. Thanks for watching.